What it is, y'all, it's your old boy Pilkin. I'm coming back with another Danmachi Battle Chronicle video, and kind of a bit of a hindsight, I guess you could say. So, last night in the Discord, a lot of us were doing some rerolls. Yes, I am still rerolling, and I'm kind of reevaluating how I'm doing this. I think I'm going to remake the reroll guide, just because there's a lot of stuff that has come to light. So, what I've got here is I've got a recent reroll I did, where I've got 3 URs, which on the surface should be like, that's amazing, that's phenomenal, keep that, right? Then you kind of maybe look at the tier list that we had yesterday, and you start going, well, you know, Ishtar isn't the highest ranked unit, she's an S tier unit, but, you know, where's that Bell and Hestia stand? Because we had Bell and we had Hestia separately, but we don't have Bell and Hestia on the tier list. Are they just not even worth mentioning? What is the deal? So, it kind of brought me to this this idea that we really need to go back to our roots before we even start talking about rerolls and units and all that stuff. We need to talk about the base level of units, the different types of units, and what they represent, and what the different powers and rarities and all that are. So, this gives me an excellent opportunity to kind of talk about this. So, number one, let's talk about the different types of units in the game. There's 3 types of units, okay? There are adventurers, like Tiona here. Tiona is basically the unit that you're going to use when you go into the battle and when you're actually going to go, you know, face off against a foe. She's a UR. You'll see here that she has power 7,700 with 7,100 HP. You know, 559 strength. That's a lot of strength. Good intelligence. What's this one? Vitality, I'm guessing. 288, dexterity 205. So, you know, you gotta get a baseline for what a unit kind of is. Now, this is at her max stats. This is when she's fully leveled up. Everything's perfect. Now, in fairness, that's gonna take you a really long time to do, because some of these levels require that you pull dupes. Multiple dupes. A lot of dupes. So, while we always will talk about max stats, because that's where these units are, that's probably not where your units are necessarily going to live, you know, at least in the early realm of the game. At least, you know, for the first year or so of the game, you're probably going to be somewhere, I won't say this far down, but you're going to be, you're notice the difference between the minimum max stats. This is where she starts, this is where she is right now at level 100, and when she's fully level 60, this is where she's at. So, there are things to consider, but that's a UR. Now, we do know that there are other rarities in the game, so what happens when we have some of those other rarities? There's going to be a drop-off, right? Well, let's look at an SSR adventurer. Okay, right out of the gate, power is 6,150, so power is much lower. HP is 5,392. That's not too bad. I mean, it is significantly lower, but it's not the end of the world. Strength 407, int 407 as well. 219 vitality and 115 dex. So there's a big difference in stats alone just on these SSR units. But if we go down to minimum stats, really isn't that much different. You know, so for the early portion of the game, early few, you know, months of this game, some of these SSRs might actually be pretty viable for you. Now, once everyone's maxed out, once you start, you know, really, once the game starts to mature, obviously, these SSRs are going to fall completely off. You're really going to be going after UR-type units. But let's not completely count out SSRs quite yet. That's adventurers. Now, let's see if we have an adventurer. We do. We have Mikoto here. Okay. 5440. Okay, so right away, 5440 and 4710 for her first 2 stats, and he was 6150 and 5392. So, you know, there's already some major differences even between SRs and SSRs. And once again, we're going by max stats here. So, and if you want to see this, all you have to do is when you have your summon up, just click on a unit, and it'll pull up those stats. Okay, so 5440 for HP, 4710 for. I'm sorry, 5440 for power, 4710 for HP, 226 for strength, 216 for int, 201 for vitality, and dex is 375. It's actually a really good dex stat, it looks like. So we're already beginning to see that not all units are created equal, not all rarities are created equal. And there will obviously be SRs that are better than, each other. There might even be some SRs that are better than SSRs. There might even be, for the early game, some SSRs that are better than some SRs. So, but that's just adventurers. And we haven't even talked about skill sets yet. So let's kind of talk about skill sets. So let's start with the baseline here of an SR skill set. So, skill set for this SR is normal attack, is attack multiplier 39%, front-facing AoE attacks. So there's going to be two types of attacks, single target attacks and AoE attacks. And apparently, front-facing AoE is going to be like when we saw the battle yesterday where there's just a line in front of you. There will be some units that can hit adjacent units and some units that can take out a whole room. So front-facing AoE means anyone in front of her is just going to get wiped out. She's going to go crazy. That hits 4 times in total. So that already sounds pretty nuts, honestly. Her technique 1 is a attack multiplier 90%. Cooldown S. I'm not sure what cooldown S is, but maybe cooldown small. Hard to tell. Well, we'll have to see what that means going further on in the game. I'm not 100% on that yet. We've had this game for less than 24 hours now. Front-facing round AoE attack hits 5 times this time. Apply 15% strength increase to all units for 8 seconds. Okay, so for 8 seconds, looks like everybody on your team is going to get that 15% strength boost. So that's interesting. That's how I'm reading that, at least for now. Heavenly Pierce, attack multiplier 180%. That's pretty big. Cooldown looks like M, I'm guessing medium. Front-facing AoE attack, apply 15% reduced defense to the enemy for 10 seconds. So once this applies, then all your foes will have 10% reduced endurance, 15% reduced endurance for 10 seconds. So that's a really solid skill. That'll be useful even if you aren't, necessarily using her as a DPS. You could drop this skill, swap in one of your URs, and let them go to town. So this is a unit that actually, even as an SR, is going to have some utility, at least for the foreseeable future. So, not a bad unit. Not a bad unit. Okay? Base recovery is 480, so this is her special move. Base recovery, 480. Says 480 int. Not sure what that really means. 480. So I'm guessing 480 health. Int status multiplier is 160. Cooldown is medium. All units recovery techniques. So she's more of a recovery unit with her AoE. She's not really doing a lot of attack with her special moves. So, take that for what it is. Now let's compare that, if we go over here, to Tiona. Now, Tiona's going to be a very different type of character. But, we'll see that as we get into her skills here. So, notice the difference here already. Attack multiplier 104%. So she's got a much bigger attack multiplier just on this skill here. Front-facing AoE attack hits 4 times, very similar to what we had before. So she's an AoE, she's not a single target. Okay? Skill 2, attack multiplier 150%. Cooldown, once again, looks like it's small. Front-facing AoE attack, 10% reduced special move. Cooldown to self. So, if you've done your special, she'll reduce the cooldown on herself after, by doing this move several other times. So, essentially, do your special, hit this, and you'll be cranking that special back out before you know it. So, that in and of itself makes her really viable as a DPS. Once again, you could use that other unit as a essentially as a support while she's coming back in and drop her in. Go ahead and just use Mikoto to kind of neutralize the field's damage, and then come back in with Tiona and just start wrecking house. That's kind of the way you would kind of want to run that. Just a little strategy, just theoretically using these two units. Okay. Now, technique 2 is Amazon Crush Plus. Attack multiplier 300%. Cooldown medium. Front facing round AoE attack. So instead of being like a straight AoE attack, this is going to probably have more of a crescent moon shaped or half moon shaped. If I'm reading this right, if I'm understanding the skills right, that's kind of how I'm assuming this is going to be. So it's not going to be just a dash. This is going to be like a big sweeping attack. So very, very different already, if I'm understanding this right. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but that's what I'm reading here. Once again, we've had the game for 24 hours. We will learn. That's why this is a 101 level course. Attack multiplier, this is her special move. Intense heat, attack multiplier 1,000%. Cooldown large, but remember she has a cooldown multiplier. Front-facing round AoE attack hits 3 times. So right there, you see the big difference between the SR and the UR. But that's just adventures, and once again, not all adventures are going to be built the same. Then you got to consider we have assist. Now I don't have a UR assist, so we'll do some rerolls here and try to get a UR assist. But then we've got these, we'll talk about assists here. So notice the difference already. So we'll compare her to the other SR adventure that we've got. So power is 4520, HP is 1490. Let's compare those to what we had with the other SR adventurer. Okay, power is 5440, but HP is 4710. So in essence, I'm assuming this runs like the other game does, where when you stack the assist on the adventurer, they just kind of add stats. That's kind of what I'm assuming here based on what limited knowledge we have so far. I've not gotten far enough into the game to really kind of do a bunch of technical analysis, but we'll get to that here soon enough. So, because right now a lot of us are doing rerolls and are really trying to wrap our minds around what rerolls are really right. And that's kind of why I'm saying I'm going to come back and readdress the reroll guide. And I'm going to remake that reroll guide here in the next few days and give you guys a better, number one, a better tier list. That's my goal this weekend. A much better tier list that includes adventures, assists, and as you can see, the third unit that's actually coming here as well. But 4520 added to that other 5600 stat, whatever it is, 5000 stats. So we're going to have close to 10,000 power. Now the HP is much lower, a little less than 1500. So you got 1500 to the other number. And then you're going to add a little bit of strength, a little bit of int, a little bit of vitality, and a little bit of dex. Now, I don't necessarily have a magic unit in front of me. We'll kind of see if maybe strength is swapped out for magic, or if magic is maybe in intelligence or whatever. One of those stats. We'll kind of address that as we come down to it. But nevertheless, that's the big difference between an assist and an adventurer, because these stats are all going to stack. Okay, and I want to remember this is max stats. These are min stats. I'm always going to talk about max stats because that's their top level potential. But do bear in mind there will be lower level stats when you first pull them. Looks like there's also CP, so these stats will also probably exponentially increase. But once again, we'll get to CP when we get to that. If you guys played Memoria Freeze, a lot of this is going to sound very, very, very similar. And it seems like they've really done their homework on the old game to know how to make this very comfortable for us transitioning over into this game, which I appreciate for one. Now, as an assist, we've already seen in the tutorial that the assist skills work very differently, but we still have 4 stats we need to look at here. So, Helping Hand, skill level 10, says CT, so this is basically the time that it's in play, 60 seconds. Self-support technique, 60% recovery, max HP to self. When in battle, let's say, okay. So that's 60% recovery for 60 seconds. That ain't bad. That's actually a really good skill. I like that a lot. Even for an SR, that's good. I'm curious to see what that would be on a UR. We'll do some draws here in a minute and see if we can get a UR to compare. Okay. Passive skill, Hearth's Relief, skill level 10. When in battle, and this is, once again, this is fully leveled up. These will probably be much, much, much lower at minimum stats. But when in battle, 7.5% increase to HP to self. So, basically, this is an active skill. You would activate that. This, if my green screen will stop cutting me off, this is a passive skill, which means this should always, or pretty much always, be in play. Okay? Then we have another passive skill here. When in battle, 12% stamina increase to self. And then another passive skill. When in battle, 9% strength increase to self. So you'd want to use her on a physical attacking unit, not a magic attacking unit. So all things you'd really want to consider. Now, that is assists, that is an SR. You'll notice that, though, we have adventures, we have assists, but we have a third classification of unit. And thankfully, I actually have an SR, an SSR, and a UR of those right here. And that is scenes. Now, scenes are very different. Scenes are a whole other animal in and of themselves. So, you notice here that it looks like there's probably going to be ways we can equip more scenes and stuff here. There are min and max levels on these as well. So you have 3 different types that you can level up. Let's see what the min does here. So min is going to be at when in battle 10% endurance to self. Max is going to be when in battle 20% endurance increase to self. So in essence, you have an adventure, an assist, and the scene that are all going to work together to basically build the unit that you're taking into battle. So that's 3 different ways that you can manipulate the outcome in battle. 3 different ways you can essentially equip the units that you're using in order to basically increase your effectiveness in battle, especially if you're going to be going into PvP, which is a whole other animal. We'll talk about that later. That looks like a complete... I don't want to say a mess, but it looks like just a level of stress and insanity so far. I'm both enthused and a bit disturbed, but we'll cover that. That one's probably going to be a bit messy, but we'll cover that later on. Now, nevertheless, so let's look at the stats here. So HP is, there's no power here, it's just an HP stat, 1425, so that's added on. No strength, no int, 50 vitality, and 0 dex. Okay, so really the vitality and the HP are the 2 things we need here. So 1425 vitality, 50 HP, and a 20% endurance increase. Let's see what happens over here. It's just going to make your unit more tough. Let's look at the SR. Okay, when in battle, 14% stamina increase to self. So it's going to give you some stamina, let you last a little bit longer in battle. It's very similar, I would imagine, to how vitality works. I'm not sure what... Stamina might affect more like HP, and I imagine vitality would probably affect more of like your defensive stat. Could have that backwards. Once again, we got to get a little further in the game before I'm really 100% on how that works. But sadly, I wasn't invited to the beta, so I didn't get a real good chance to test all this stuff out, unfortunately. But this is an SSR. So HP is now 700, half what we had before. But she has a strength stat instead of a vitality stat. So that's one of the big differences. She'll need to be attached to a strength unit. Interesting stuff. Then we get down here and we go to our SR. And the SR is 10%, which means the min is probably 5, I'm guessing. Yeah. So in essence, with an SR scene, you are essentially a max stat getting what the UR would be at minimum stats. So interesting that. HP is 570. Vitality is 30. Let's see what Ishtar actually gets at min stats again. So minimum stats is 225 HP. So you get a little bit more and only 1 vitality. So a little bit better than her min stats. But that's the difference between scenes, SSR, SR, and UR. Let's see. I'm going to go ahead and reroll here. Let's see if we can get an assist. It might take a couple of rerolls. But let's see if we can get an assist that will give us some information here. So when you are doing rerolls, guys, there's a couple things to bear in mind. So when we get this scene here with the kind of black backdrop and all the lettering on there, that is going to be a UR adventurer. Okay? If we get a white backdrop, let's go ahead and reroll this again. All right. We're not worried about that. If we get a white backdrop, nope, that's another black backdrop. So that's just going to be an adventurer. That's going to be a UR adventurer, by the way. Bam. Now, the nice part is since I'm actually doing, I'm skipping everything, it's going to show you only the URs. So here's another great example. So I got a UR scene here, and that is going to replay kind of a little bit of that scene itself. Another UR scene. So it'll kind of like flash through and show you bits of the scene during your summon. Another adventurer. And this will be Tiona. There we go. Been doing enough rerolls to actually already recognize some of these units. So we got another URC. We got 2 UR scenes. And on the surface, like we talked about yesterday, that would seem like a really good a really good summon. But the honest answer here is it though? Because I don't really want scenes. The thing you got to remember, we'll talk about this when we get back into the reroll guide, is that when you get adventures, scenes instead of adventurers in your UR summon, that means you're getting much lower power. You really, really want more adventurers than you want scenes. It would really go in order of importance. If I'm rerolling, I really want 2 adventurers and at least 1 UR assist. That's what I'm going for. 2 UR adventurers, 1 UR assist. If I get a scene, great. If I don't, I don't. Scenes will come and go. But adventure is going to mean so much more for the early game. We'll talk about that when we get back in here. But let's look at the SR assist here. We already talked about it. Well, no, we talked about scenes. We didn't talk about assists. So this is an SR assist. Power is 4,400. HP is 1,449. Strength is 194. Let's kind of compare these stats accordingly. 204 int, 38 vitality. That's like no vitality at all. Good grief. Probably because I'm guessing that being Haruhime, she's going to have some HP regen. And Dex 290. Let's compare that to Hermes, who's an SSR. Okay. 4920, already getting a little bit more power. HP 1670, so that's already way higher. Strength is 357, and so is Int. Int may actually be our magic stat. We'll have to see what happens if we pull a magic. We'll see what happens if we pull like Leafy or someone like that. Vitality is 40. Dex is 118. And I apologize, guys, but I'm still learning the strategies myself. I haven't even really gotten into the game at this point because we're still doing all these rerolls. So I'm basically going to reroll until we get a UR assist here. Shouldn't be but a couple more rerolls. Okay, we got another adventure bell. Go away. Ooh, a second adventure. What did we get here? Ooh, okay. So this is what I'm talking about. This is what would be really tempting right about now. A bell and a fin. I've turned this combo down a couple of times because, as I said, I'm really holding out for bell and fin with an assist. But we have 2 SSR assists. Oh, it's going to be really hard to turn down. You know what? For the sake of the video, I'm going to go back in here and I'm going to go for a UR assist just for the sake of the video. And it's probably not going to drop one, is it? Okay. So we got Aisha. I really do want Aisha, but that's just for fanboyness. All right. Can we get an assist on this one? Okay. So now we got Aisha's scene. We actually don't have the Aisha unit. We have her scene. And now we have a Finn adventurer. Come on. Give us an assist. Seems like assists have really low pull rates. And we'll come back and like I said, we'll talk about this a little bit more. We'll do our own tier list just on adventures, assists, and scenes. So don't worry about that. We'll talk about that a little bit more coming up here really soon. Okay, so here's Leafia. This is actually a really good example. So Leafia being an SSR adventurer, but she's a magic unit instead of a physical unit. Let's look at what she's got. So she's got 513 strength, but 559 int. So it looks like on the surface that int would be the higher stat for magic units, which kind of makes sense, honestly, here. Let's look at her skills. So attack multiplier 83.2, front-facing AoE attack hits 4 times. Attack multiplier 120, actually, that looks really good. Cooldown is small, front-facing AoE attack. Notice it's front-facing, not the, what did we see before? Front, was it dome-shaped or whatever it's called? And 1000% with a large cooldown, actually. Front-facing round. So that's the difference. So these just say front-facing. That says front-facing round. I'm guessing that's kind of that moon-shaped effect that we've seen in the test runs. But let's see if we can get a UR assist and kind of get the numbers on that. Okay, what do we got here? We got a bell. We got a UR bell. Not what I want, though. I want an assist. Come on. I'm guessing, for me, usually when I've been doing these rerolls, if I have Belle, or I have Finn, or I have Leafia, or even Aisha, it seems like those 4 generally are going to just be solo. All right, so case in point, here's a Tiona. She's one of those solo units. So I'm guessing she's the end of the summon. I'm guessing. Seems like it's a handful. You are always going to end your reroll on an adventurer. So if you see one of those like top tier adventurers kind of finishing up the summon, kind of guess that's the end of the summon. It's not going to give me a UR assist, is it? It really is not going to give me a UR assist. It really is absolutely not. Let's do a couple more real quick. I'm hoping I get one, because for the sake of the video, I really want one. And I threw away a really good summon for this. Another Tiona. There we go. All right, Tiona. Shoo. We want a UR assist. Come on. Of course not. Why would it do it? Why would it do it? Got Leafia again. Leafia, whatever you want. I always pronounce it Leafia. Probably a foible from the old game, but it is what it is. Okay, we've got a scene. We already know the difference between the scenes. We really want to see that UR assist. It's not going to give us a UR assist. Why are you doing this to me? What did I do to you? What did I do to you? Man. Come on. Show us that UR assist. Show us any UR. Why? Oh, man. But I hope you guys already understand kind of the difference already between assists, adventurers, and all that good stuff. I hope this makes a lot of sense. Like I said, the tier list is going to have to be revised. That tier list was somebody else's. I was borrowing it. It's another Finn. It's going to be the end of the summon. It's just not going to drop an assist. But, you know, it's the information we had at the time. But now that we've dove a little deeper, we kind of understand it a bit more. And we kind of now know what we're looking for. So when I had that summon that was Finn and Belle with a couple of SSR assists, I really should have stuck with that. That's when I really should not have given up. So notice I've got Leafia here with an SSR Tione and 2 SSR assists. I'd really have to go through. So that's actually another really solid summon. Oh, I'm gonna regret this. I'm gonna regret going in deeper. I'm gonna regret it a lot, aren't I? Because it's just not gonna drop it. All right, here's another Finn. There were last time we got Finn at the beginning of the summon, but as I said, usually when I see Finn, he's like the end of the summon, and we had a double last time, so yeah. It just ain't gonna do it, guy. Oh, here we go. Here we go. As soon as I gave up hope. All right, let's compare this, and then we'll call the video. It's already been long enough. So we got Take. And let's see what his skills are. Let's do a nice comparison here. All right. And we got Leafia. There we are. All right. Now, this would be like the perfect summon if I could just get one other SSR adventure. Look, there's a ton of assists on this one. All right. So let's compare Take. So 6,000 power, 3,400 HP. That's a really good HP stat. Good grief. That's like double what we saw with the SSR. Strength is 175. Int is 159. Vitality is 141. Dex is only 69. Let's look at his skills. Attack multiplier 400%. That's wild. For 50 seconds for front-facing AoE attacks. When in battle, 30% stamina increase to self. Man, he's really good. When in battle, 22.5% endurance to self. When in battle, 7.5% damage reduction to self. So he's got some solid skills. I'm actually going to feel bad for throwing this unit away if I do. I got to make some decisions here. But let's compare. We actually have his SR and his UR. So let's see. One more time as a refresher. His SR is 6080 power, 3403 HP, 175, 159, 141, and 69. Noise. To the SSR, which is put that away. 4670 power, 1544. So like half. Well, not power, but HP is like half. Strength 217 into. So the drop off is pretty extreme. But let's look at his stats, because this is a direct comparison. Same unit or same character. Definitely not the same unit. Same character. UR versus SSR. So we've got 60-second self-support technique ability, 27% endurance increase for 20 seconds. When in battle, 9% increase HP recovery self. That's pretty good. But we saw better with the other one. That was like a third skill for him. When in battle, 50% stamina to self. That's not too bad. And when in battle, 12% strength increase to self. I actually think our last stat was a little lower, but nevertheless, the SSR is still viable. Especially for the early game. The SSR is still very viable. But the whole reason that we're re-rolling for double adventurers in the SSR class is because, simply put, for your party, you are going to want the strongest adventurers in the front. They have the highest stats. You're going to get the better boost out of having SSR adventurers. So you are adventurers with maybe an SSR assist and an SSR UR scene. So take this knowledge for what it is. This is a 101 level class. We will come back and we will do some deep dives into this banner, maybe some of the other banners and things like that are available. I think there's one other banner available right now with some extra units that aren't available here. We'll do some deep dives into that. My one pet peeve, and the one reason I really wanted to discuss this, because the downside right now, and I'll talk about this a little bit in the next video, but the downside right now is that you can't see these stats unless you've already summoned the units. So we'll come back. We'll talk about that. That tier list is coming up here probably in the next 24. I'm going to try to get it out. If not today, then tomorrow. Definitely will be up real soon, though, guys. Like, comment, share, and I will be back with more Danmachi Battle Chronicle. And we got some more frees coming up today, too. See you guys again real soon.